Have you ever held a wedding ring after someone has passed, feeling that it still carries something invisible, almost alive? It's as if the ring, once merely a circle of metal, has become a vessel of memory, emotion, and unseen energy. Many have described the sensation, a faint warmth, a sudden calm, or even a strange heaviness in the air when touching it. But what is it that we're truly feeling? Is it only nostalgia? Or could there be a deeper energy still residing in that small golden band? According to Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, everything that exists is energy, and energy never dies. It only changes form, moving between the physical and spiritual planes. In his readings, Cayce spoke often about the imprints left by consciousness on matter. To him, every object that interacts deeply with a person becomes charged with that person's vibrational pattern. A wedding ring, then, is not just a symbol of union. It becomes a living archive of shared experiences, emotions, and soul resonance. When one of the partners departs this world, the ring remains as a bridge, vibrating quietly between the visible and invisible realms. Imagine for a moment the life of that ring. It began as pure metal, inert, until two souls infused it with intention during a sacred promise. From that moment on, it absorbed the warmth of their hands, the rhythm of their days, the laughter, the arguments, the quiet nights when words weren't needed. Each moment, according to Cayce's understanding of energy, left an imprint much like footprints in the sand of time. The ring became a silent witness, holding within it the frequency of love that was lived, not just spoken. And when death arrives to separate the physical forms, the energy of the connection doesn't vanish. It only shifts to a subtler plane. Cayce often reminded his followers that thought is the builder. This means that whatever we think, feel, and believe shapes energy around us, leaving patterns that endure. The wedding ring then becomes more than a keepsake. It's a crystallization of thought and devotion. In his view, such objects resonate with the emotional and spiritual charge of those who wore them. So when one touches a deceased spouse's ring and feels something inexplicable, it may not be imagination at all. It could be a momentary tuning into that lingering vibration, the echo of a consciousness that still loves, still remembers, and still seeks connection beyond the veil. This idea challenges our common sense of finality. The Western mind often sees death as a severing, a full stop. But Cayce's teachings whisper a different truth. Energy cannot be destroyed, and love, being the highest frequency, is the most enduring of all. The energy of a marriage, when genuine, when rooted in soul companionship, doesn't end with the body. It expands, it transcends. It begins to vibrate on another level of existence, where communication no longer requires words, and presence no longer depends on proximity. The ring, in this sense, acts as a resonant object, a physical tuning fork that allows us, if only for an instant, to feel that expanded connection. Perhaps that's why some people cannot bear to part with their late spouse's ring. They feel on an intuitive level that the ring is not merely a memory, it's an energy thread. Cayce would likely agree. He taught that we can attune ourselves to the vibrations of love that persist beyond physical life. Through prayer, meditation, or simply stillness, we can sense that our beloved is not gone but transformed, continuing their growth in a dimension where energy flows freely, unburdened by matter. The ring becomes, then, a symbol of that truth, a reminder that even though death alters form, it cannot dissolve essence. And so when you hold a wedding ring from someone who has passed, you are holding a story written not in ink, but in energy. Each scratch, each curve of the band carries the memory of touch, the echo of laughter, the warmth of shared mornings. According to Cayce's vision, that energy is not trapped. It moves, it breathes, it calls softly to the soul that still lingers nearby. The ring doesn't keep the dead tethered to the living. Rather, it reminds the living that nothing true is ever lost. It invites us to look beyond the material, to feel the continuity that binds all souls in one eternal current of consciousness. And as we begin to explore this mystery more deeply, one quiet question begins to emerge, like the faint glimmer of gold under candlelight. If love leaves its mark on matter, then where exactly does its energy go when one of the hearts stops beating? Edgar Cayce often described death not as an ending, but as a transition, a movement of consciousness from the physical plane to what he called the spirit realm of vibration. In his readings, he explained that the soul does not lose its individuality upon leaving the body. It merely shifts its frequency, much like a radio tuning into a higher station. The physical objects once dear to the departed, rings, photographs, letters, still exist at their lower frequency, yet they remain magnetically connected to the soul through the memory of love. The bond is not sentimental, it is energetic. When we touch these objects, we're not just remembering, we're resonating. Our vibration aligns, however briefly, with the field of that soul that still exists, only in another octave of being. This is why Cayce emphasized the sanctity of intention. He taught that everything we hold, wear, or create becomes a record of our inner state. He often used the term vibration to describe this imprint. A ring exchanged in genuine love carries one kind of vibration, harmonious, uplifting, luminous, while a ring bound by control, resentment, or fear carries another, denser kind. The energy of the object reflects the quality of the consciousness that shaped it. That's why some inherited items feel peaceful, while others feel heavy, even disturbing. We are not just sensing memories, we are interacting with frequencies left behind by human emotion, and love, being the purest vibration, endures the longest. When one partner dies, Cayce suggested, their energy field doesn't vanish, but becomes more diffuse, more radiant. If the surviving partner continues to wear the ring, they're not clinging to the past. They're participating in a subtle dialogue between planes. The ring acts as a focus point, a receiver of the vibration that once flowed between two hearts. Through it, the living can still feel the whisper of the other's soul, not as a haunting, but as a blessing. Cayce even implied that strong bonds of love create what he called channels of attunement, pathways through which the two souls may continue to share understanding, comfort, and spiritual growth. Death, in his view, only transforms the method of communication. It's fascinating that Cayce's interpretation aligns with certain ancient spiritual traditions. In many cultures, sacred objects, rings, amulets, prayer beads, are believed to absorb the essence of their owner's spirit. Tibetan monks, for instance, consecrate objects to hold the energy of compassion, while indigenous tribes bless tools or jewelry to serve as guardians of the soul's memory. Modern science might call this psychometry, the idea that objects retain traces of the energy that interacts with them. But for Cayce, it wasn't merely a phenomenon, it was evidence of the unity of all life. Matter, mind, and spirit are not separate layers. They are one continuum of vibration, endlessly shaping and being shaped by consciousness. This understanding also carries a gentle warning. If energy lingers, then the emotions we cultivate around the ring matter deeply. Holding on in grief, anger, or guilt can anchor both souls in dissonance. The departed may feel the pull of unresolved emotion, while the living may find it hard to move forward. Cayce advised that love must always be released into its higher form. To honor a deceased partner is not to clutch their ring in pain, but to bless it with gratitude, to transform attachment into reverence. When this happens, the energy within the object purifies. The ring becomes a channel of peace rather than a magnet of sorrow. Cayce's vision, though mystical, is profoundly practical. He believed that energy responds to consciousness instantly. If one prays with love while holding the ring, the vibration of that love travels through the subtle fabric that unites all souls to reach the one who has crossed over. In this sense, the ring becomes an instrument of prayer, a sacred conductor of compassion. It no longer binds us to what was, but opens us to what still is. And perhaps that is why those who approach grief with faith often report moments of warmth, of peace, of inexplicable presence. They are not hallucinations, Cayce would say, they are harmonizations. To touch a wedding ring after death, then, is to touch both the past and the eternal. It is to place one's hand on the threshold where form meets formlessness. Cayce's teachings invite us to see that threshold not as a wall but as a veil, thin, shimmering, permeable. On one side stands the one who remains, carrying love in human form. On the other, the one who has gone ahead, carrying the same love in spirit. The ring lies between them, quiet but radiant, a reminder that the energy of true union cannot be buried, only transformed. And if we listen closely to that silent gold, we might begin to sense that what connects us to those we love has never been metal or memory, but the unbroken vibration of love itself, still humming softly in the space between worlds. As Edgar Cayce often explained, the soul's journey after death is guided not by geography, but by vibration. Each soul gravitates naturally toward the plane of consciousness that matches its inner frequency. In this way, love itself becomes a form of light, an organizing force that binds souls across dimensions. The energy of a wedding ring, therefore, does not simply remain attached to the person who wore it. It becomes part of this greater field of shared vibration, a field shaped by the devotion, compassion, and spiritual growth experienced within that marriage. To Cayce, every act of love sends ripples into eternity. So when one partner leaves the physical world, the waves of their union continue to move through both realities, gently weaving them together. In his readings, Cayce described how thoughts and emotions could vibrate upon the ethers, meaning that the essence of what we feel never truly vanishes. The ring, being a physical focal point, can act like an anchor in that sea of subtle energy. For the one who remains behind, touching it may trigger a resonance with the higher frequency of the departed soul. It is not that the soul is trapped in the object. Cayce was clear that spirits are never bound to matter, but rather that love leaves a pathway, a trace of vibration which allows connection. The ring becomes like the scent of a flower that no longer stands in the garden. The form has gone, but the fragrance lingers. Cayce also believed that our reactions to such objects determine how they continue to affect us. If we hold the ring with reverence and peace, we align with the higher energy of the love it represents. But if we hold it in despair, guilt, or possessiveness, we tune ourselves to lower vibrations that cloud perception. Spirit responds to the attitude of mind, he often said. Thus, our state of consciousness determines whether the ring becomes a symbol of transcendence or a relic of pain. To Cayce, energy is neutral. It reflects the consciousness that engages with it. In this light, the wedding ring is like a mirror. It shows not only what was, but what we choose to see. In moments of deep grief, the mind often seeks the presence of the one who has crossed over. Cayce acknowledged this longing as natural, but he encouraged seekers to transform it into spiritual awareness rather than emotional dependency. Seek them where they are, he said, in the light. To meditate while holding a wedding ring can therefore become a sacred practice. By quieting the mind and lifting the heart into gratitude, one attunes to the soul's higher vibration, where reunion happens not through words or touch, but through knowing. In that stillness, the veil between life and death becomes translucent, and what remains is not the pain of separation, but the pulse of eternal connection. Many who have experienced this state describe it not as a vision or a voice, but as a presence, gentle, loving, unmistakable. Cayce would have said this is not imagination, it is recognition. The energy of love, refined through suffering and surrender, opens a channel between planes. The ring in one's hand serves only as a reminder of that connection, a sacred key that unlocks a door already built by love itself. In that moment, the living and the departed are not two. They are one vibration resonating in harmony, echoing across the dimensions of existence. This understanding leads to a profound truth. Energy is memory, but not in the way we think. Memory, in the spiritual sense, is not a recollection of events. It is the continuation of essence. The love that filled the shared life becomes part of the soul's ongoing evolution. The ring, therefore, is not merely a token of the past. It is a point of contact with that living current of energy. Through it, we are reminded that nothing true is ever gone. It only changes form. Even science, with its principle that energy cannot be destroyed, echoes this timeless wisdom. Matter shifts, forms dissolve, but the essence of love remains, flowing in new patterns of light. To see a wedding ring after death, then, is to be invited into a larger understanding of life itself. The metal does not hold the soul, it holds a resonance, a quiet echo of divine continuity. And when we allow that resonance to touch us, we begin to sense that what we call death is merely the soul's return to its greater rhythm. Cayce's teachings remind us that love, being of God, cannot end. It evolves. It expands. It draws us forward, from grief into gratitude, from attachment into communion. The ring shining softly in the palm whispers this truth to every heart willing to listen. The bond remains unbroken because the energy that forged it is eternal. And yet, one question begins to form at the horizon of this realization. If the energy of love never dies, then what role does it play in the soul's journey beyond this world, and how does that energy continue to guide the living who remain? If energy is eternal, as Edgar Cayce taught, then love, the highest form of energy, is the soul's true language, the current that never stops flowing. What happens to the energy of a wedding ring after death, then, is not a mystery to be solved, but a truth to be remembered. It continues to radiate. It carries within it the vibration of two lives intertwined by choice, by growth, by the sacred rhythm of giving and receiving. The ring becomes a circle not only of metal but of consciousness, endless, unbroken, reflecting the infinite nature of spirit itself. When the physical bond dissolves, the spiritual one expands, reaching beyond the boundaries of time and form. The ring, in its stillness, becomes a silent teacher of eternity. Cayce often said that spirit is the life, mind is the builder, and the physical is the result. Seen through this lens, the ring's energy is a reflection of the spirit that animated the love it represents. The spirit of the one who has passed does not reside inside the ring, but its vibration harmonizes with what the object still carries. It is like a melody that continues long after the musician has left the stage. When we hold the ring, we are not holding the person. We are listening to the lingering song of their presence, a resonance that invites our soul to rise to that same frequency. This is why, in moments of quiet reflection, peace can suddenly replace grief. The energy of love calls us upward, whispering that there is no loss, only transformation. Cayce's readings often spoke of the purpose of relationships extending beyond one lifetime. He suggested that true companions meet again and again across incarnations, helping one another evolve toward greater unity with the divine. In this view, the wedding ring does not symbolize a promise limited to a single lifetime. It is a physical echo of a much older covenant, one made between souls long before they entered this world. When death comes, it merely marks a shift in that shared journey. The love that was cultivated becomes a spiritual force, guiding both souls, one in the physical, one in the spiritual, toward further growth. The ring remains as a witness to that sacred continuity, a reminder that nothing given in love is ever lost in the vast ledger of eternity. This understanding transforms how we relate to grief. Instead of asking, "How can I let go?" we begin to ask, "How can I let love evolve?" To hold a departed partner's ring can become an act not of clinging, but of blessing. We can speak to it, not with desperation, but with gratitude. "Thank you for the love we shared. May your journey continue in light, and may mine unfold in peace." In that moment, the energy shifts. The sorrow becomes a prayer. The ring becomes not a relic of absence, but a symbol of transformation, carrying the vibration of love refined by acceptance. Cayce would say that in such moments, the soul of the departed feels that light and responds in kind, sending back waves of calm and reassurance. And so the ring fulfills its final purpose, not as a possession, but as a bridge between worlds. When the living are ready, some may choose to pass it on, allowing the energy of love to continue its work through new hands, new stories, new lives. Others may keep it close, not from attachment, but from reverence for the energy it holds. In either case, the essential truth remains: energy does not decay in the realm of spirit. It transforms into wisdom. The ring becomes a teacher of impermanence and eternity at once, showing us that love's true form is movement, flowing endlessly between souls, never confined, never concluded. To understand this is to glimpse the heart of Cayce's vision of reality, that all of life is one vast field of consciousness where no separation truly exists. The love that once moved through two bodies now moves through the unseen, guiding both toward reunion in higher awareness. When we honor that love with peace, we contribute to its light, When we resist it with sorrow, we delay our own healing. The energy of the ring is therefore not something outside of us. It mirrors what already lives within. It reminds us that we too are vessels of vibration, carrying the resonance of countless lifetimes, bound by the same divine current that animates the stars. So when you find yourself holding a wedding ring after the death of the one you love, pause for a moment. Feel its weight, not of metal, but of memory, of meaning, of pure energy condensed into form. Let your breath slow, let your heart quiet, and listen, not with your ears, but with your soul. You may feel a pulse, a subtle warmth, a peace that has no source. That is not imagination. That is the eternal energy of love, reminding you that what was once shared has never ended. The circle remains unbroken, the light endures. And in that quiet realization, grief softens into grace, and remembrance becomes a doorway to the eternal life that waits within and beyond us all.